Hi. If you are watching this, you are watching April lesson number 2. And this essay is about meeting expectations. So if you are on the article outline, you'll notice that right away I defined the word expectation. A strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future, looking forward to or waiting for something. We assume, we believe, we presume, we hope, we suppose, we look forward to, we anticipate an event. And I did this essay right after, if you all remember, the solar eclipse, the total solar eclipse. And I put on my board, one of 3 things happens. Let me kind of just write that down for you. And the thing in the middle that happens is whatever we thought was going to happen, it meets our expectations. And then sometimes, which is what happened in the case for me, sometimes it surpasses our expectations, so better than what we thought. And then, of course, the worst, which is fails to meet our expectations. So I gave these 3 categories: fail to meet my expectations, meet my expectations, surpass my expectations. And I asked my students in each class, that day, that Monday, some parents pulled their kids out of school. They didn't let them watch it. In case that's one of you, or you recognize that somebody did that in your class, that is personal choice. That was a religious reason for a lot of families. They consider it a bad omen. I looked it up. I thought that's your belief system, but for me, being a Christian, it was all about creation, and it was all about this incredible mystery. So I'm going to tell you a story. I had lowered my expectations about this event. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are in their 80s or 85, and they were very into this. Wanted a party at their house on Monday. So we had an eclipse party. And we were like, my husband and I had to bring the dogs over. It's about 45 minutes away. So it's 45 minutes away, packing 2 golden retrievers, 45 minutes back home. And we decided to all cook and bring potluck. So we cooked burgers and homemade potato salad and homemade desserts. And it was 7 of us. And we had our glasses ready, had a wonderful lunch. It's great food, homemade food. How can you go wrong? And then just about half an hour before, you could kind of feel kind of a build up of anticipation. And so we went outside, and sure enough, just a tiny little sliver. And I went, oh my gosh, how cool is that? Put on these glasses really work. I didn't think, just the black would work, but oh my gosh, they really, really work. So that was cool. And then as we were sitting there, basically their driveway, I was worried that we would get cloud coverage, and some people did. We didn't. We got a perfect view. Really, really interesting. It says your animals will respond right before the moon covers the sun. And sure enough, my animals got real quiet. You could hear the birds stop chirping in the trees. And just that part where it was dark, not as dark as I thought it was, but still cool. The temperature dropped. And I thought, isn't this cool that our universe does this? Through gravitational pull, through the mysteries of the universe, that we could witness this event. And I felt bad when students did not have their expectations met. So this is why we have an essay today, because here's the reality. Sometimes our expectations are not met. So I am going to tell you that you're going to need to get a piece of paper in a minute, just a blank piece of paper. And then you're going to put on one side, failed to meet my expectations or met or surpassed my expectations. So we're going to kind of do a brainstorm here in a minute. So expectations are what we think will happen, while reality is what actually transpires. And here's what usually happens. Either our expectations match up with reality, which we're neither, we're like, okay, that's what I thought was going to happen. Or it fails to meet our expectations and we are completely disappointed. Maybe we have feelings of discontent, or on those rare occasions and it surpasses our expectations, we think, wow, who would have predicted that that was so cool? So expectations refer to the belief that a person holds about the outcomes of events. They can lead to disappointment when they don't match our expectations. But we always anticipate, could be a birthday coming up. I think a lot of kids were disappointed with birthdays during the pandemic. Let's be real, right? Holding a vision in your mind about how things will play out. Maybe it's a tryout and you're thinking, I'm going to make the A team, right? And the reality is you don't quite have the skill level ready for the A team. So this is a student of mine, about it 2 or 3 years ago, wrote this essay about expectations. And she said, I wanted to make the A team and I was really disappointed when I was put on the B team. She goes, but later on at the end of the year, I realized I met some great friends on the B team. I learned to develop my skills and I found out the A team, those girls weren't very nice. So that coach who put me on the B team actually did me a favor. So sometimes, when our expectations aren't met, sometimes it actually works out later on in our favor. But here's the thing, we're human. We have a set idea of what's going to happen out of a situation. So recently, I read just an incredible story, a book. Oh, and I was like, wow, like an ending that just kind of floored me. And I thought, that just doesn't happen to me very often. I mean, I read pretty good books, but books that just make me reflect and go blow me away like, wow, wow. And maybe you feel that way about a TV show. Maybe you feel that way about a video game. Maybe you feel that way about a movie. A lot of kids told me this couple weeks ago that their parents made them watch a movie and they're like, all right, I'll watch it. And they're like, hey, I went in here with, low expectations and, I came out here going, wow, that wasn't so bad. I actually enjoyed it. So when expectations are not met, it can lead to disappointment, frustration, maybe even anger. People might become so attached to their expectations that they're unable to see the reality of a situation. So that happens when we have unrealistic expectations, and it can happen. I think we're seeing that play out on social media. You put your picture out there, you Photoshop it, or you post a comment and you think, wow, this is going to get a lot of likes, and then nothing. And maybe you had unrealistic expectations about who your circle of influence is. So when we go into a new situation, we have to ask ourselves, what do I expect to happen? Are my expectations where they should be? Are my expectations too high? Are they too low? Where did these expectations come from? And when I feel disappointed, when my expectations aren't met, do I learn something from that? Okay, so I have 2 stories today. The first story is called The Unexpected Hero. In the small town of Willow Creek, there lived a boy named Alex. He was an average middle school student, not particularly outstanding in any way. He had dreams, just like any other kid, but he often felt overshadowed by his classmates who seemed to excel effortlessly in academic, sports, or arts. One sunny afternoon, as Alex walked home from school, he stumbled upon a peculiar sight. A group of people gathered around a mysterious-looking map. Curiosity piqued. Alex approached them and asked what they were doing. "We're on a treasure hunt," exclaimed a girl with sparkling eyes. "We've been searching for clues all over town," added a boy with a determined expression. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He had always dreamed of going on an adventure, but he never imagined he would stumble upon one in his own backyard. "Can I join you?" Alex asked eagerly. The group exchanged hesitant glances, sizing up Alex. They knew him as the quiet kid who usually kept to himself. However, something about the excitement in his eyes convinced them to let him tag along. As they embarked on their treasure hunt, Alex found himself facing challenges he'd never encountered before. They solved riddles, deciphered cryptic messages, and navigated through hidden passages. Along the way, Alex discovered strengths he never knew he had: a sharp eye for details, a knack for problem solving, and a courage that grew with each obstacle they overcame. Finally, they reached the last clue, a riddle that stumped them all. Hours passed, and frustration threatened to dampen their spirits. Undaunted, Alex refused to give up. He studied the riddle from every angle until a light bulb moment struck him. "I think I've got it," he exclaimed, excitement bubbling within him. With Alex's solution in mind, they raced to the final destination, a clearing in the forest where an ancient chest awaited him. With trembling hands, Alex unlocked the chest, revealing his long-lost contents, a trove of treasures and a note of gratitude from the town's founding ancestors. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the group gathered around Alex, their unexpected hero. They realized that Alex, the boy who'd always felt overshadowed by others, had surpassed all of their expectations and emerged victorious. From that day forward, Alex was no longer just an ordinary middle schooler. He was the hero of Willow Creek, a reminder to everyone that greatness can be found in the most unexpected of places. And as for Alex, he knew that as long as he believed in himself, there was no treasure too elusive, no challenge too daunting, and no expectation too high to meet. So I'm going to tell you in a minute what that story is all about, or where it came from. First and foremost, obviously this is best case scenario, right? I mean, everything just kind of fell into line. So I don't know how realistic that story is, but you get the idea. His expectations were surpassed. So I tell you this because this is going to be your assignment. You will write about a personal story. We all have a time when our expectations were surpassed. Usually a significant event, maybe 4th of July, a holiday, maybe Diwali, Holi, Christmas, a birthday, a wedding, a vacation, right? And you think, well, we're going there, great. And you're like, that was so fun. We all have a moment that surpassed our expectations. So when I ask you to brainstorm here in a minute, I want you to consider things probably in the last 6 months to a year. So the more recent they are, the better. And we're going to talk about why we brainstorm here in a minute. So the second story is called The Disappointing Dilemma. And I think you can tell from the title, obviously their expectations will not be met. So in the bustling town of Greenfield, there lived a boy named Alex. He was an enthusiastic middle schooler with big dreams and even bigger expectations. Max was convinced that he would ace the upcoming science fair with his revolutionary project, an automated gardening system that he had spent months perfecting. With unwavering confidence, Max poured his heart and soul into his project. He meticulously programmed the sensors, fine-tuned the watering mechanism, and carefully cultivated the plants. In his mind, nothing could stand in the way of his success. As the day of the science fair drew near, Max's excitement reached a fever pitch. He imagined himself standing proudly beside his project, basking in the admiration of his peers and teachers. He was certain that his hard work would finally pay off, cementing his reputation as the science whiz of Greenfield Middle School. However, when the day of the science fair arrived, Max's dreams were shattered in an instant. As he set up his project, he noticed a crucial flaw, a glitch in the system that caused the plants to wither and die. Panic surged through him as he frantically tried to troubleshoot the problem, but it was too late. As the judging began, Max watched helplessly as his classmates showcased their projects with confidence and poise. Each presentation seemed to highlight his own shortcomings, amplifying his sense of failure. The once bright future he'd envisioned now seemed like a distant fantasy. When it was finally Max's turn to present, he stumbled through his explanation, his voice shaky and his confidence shattered. He knew that his project was far from perfect, and he couldn't bear to face the disappointed look on the judges' faces. As the science fair drew to a close, Max slumped in defeat, feeling utterly defeated and ashamed. He couldn't shake the feeling that he'd let himself down, as well as his family and teachers who believed in him. However, amidst the disappointment and despair, Max found a glimmer of hope. As he packed up his project, a classmate approached him with a kind smile. "Hey, Max, I know things didn't go as planned, but your idea was really cool," the classmate said. "I'm sure with a little more work, you'll come back stronger next time." Max felt a surge of gratitude wash over him. Despite his failure, he realized he wasn't alone. His classmate, teachers, and family were there to support him even when he fell short of his own expectations. As Max walked home from the science fair, he made a silent promise to himself. to learn from his mistakes, to persevere in the face of adversity, and to never let one setback define him. And though the road ahead might be challenging, Max knew that with determination and resilience, he could overcome any obstacle that stood in his way. So this is a really interesting topic, everybody, because this is really about failing to meet your own expectations. Okay, so as a rule, let me say this. I am not a fan of academic topics, and neither are your English teachers. I know that you live 7, 8 hours a day and your job is school, but I don't really want to read a report about a math grade or a science project. This was a huge deal, the science fair. So it was a little bit better, but I'm just going to tell you, think about it this way. When you brainstorm a topic, do you want to read about somebody's math homework? I'm guessing no. Okay, so think about these questions before you brainstorm. Have you ever gone into a situation with one expectation and been disappointed? Let's talk about travel, road trips, flights. I think we've all had occasions where a flight was canceled, a flight was delayed, you had to stay over. I remember a Hawaiian flight we had from Hawaii back. It was delayed and we didn't take off till 2 a.m. and we were up all night and I was just, yeah, I'm not a person who does well without sleep. Vacations, not every vacation you go on is going to be fantastic. One year, I think my kids were younger. We had planned a Disney World trip to Florida, bought the tickets, bought the park passes. You can't really get your money back. There was a hurricane. Now the hurricane had passed through, but it left torrential rain. Every day we were there. Now we were troopers. We put on our ponchos. We went in the rain. We didn't care. Was that the best vacation ever? Can't say it was, right? But what a great memory and something I can share with you. A sporting event. Oh my goodness. The odds are pretty good. You lose, right? Really, really good. It's rare to win a championship. More often than not, you lose. Doesn't feel good. And you expect to win. Maybe you are, the selected team to win and you don't. School, maybe you start the new school year thinking, I'm starting high school or I'm starting middle school. I've got this new teacher, she's going to be great. And it's not so great. Family gathering. How many of you have had mom or dad invite a whole family over and they had a wonderful time and you didn't? A lot of my students said, yeah, that's happened. A holiday, you thought Christmas break was going to be awesome or, spring break. I remember a student told me he went on a cruise and everything that could go wrong on that cruise went wrong. And to this day, he says, I don't ever want to go on a cruise again. Yeah. Have you expected something though, that it turned out better? When you get that, it's a snow day, no school today, or mom and dad have just, gone above and beyond for your birthday gift. You get the gift you wanted. A water park, obviously amusement park, shopping at a mall, a competition, a tryout. You try out and you make it. You make the team. And I don't want you to write about solar eclipse too much. I mean, you can if you don't want to, can't think of any other topic. And I'm not going to tell you a lot of kids didn't, and it's fair game because it's recent. But please don't write about it unless it was really bad or really good. So even at the bottom of this page, even if someone plans carefully, a birthday party can be a huge hit or a disaster. So a girl can wake up sick, fever, vomiting. Obviously, that's not going to be a great birthday. Something like the pandemic can happen. You had this idea and then nothing at home with mom and dad. Maybe a family, this is the Disney World that actually happened. And then finally planning a trip, see a family if flights canceled as soon as they arrive at the airport. Travel hiccups. Those are great stories because why? Because they happen to everybody. Okay, so here's what you want to do before you come up with a topic. Whenever your teacher gives you free choice, you brainstorm. And this is where this is going to come into play. So in class, and I'm just going to tell you, you're going to do this at the end of class, you should brainstorm anything that comes into your mind. And I always do brainstorm in pen. Why? There's no right or wrong answer. A brainstorm is letting your creativity flow, getting a list of things. Okay, what are things that didn't meet my expectations? Events that exceeded my expectations. and just kind of write a list. And then what you do, after you make your T-chart and brainstorm, narrow down your choices. Think about, okay, is this something I really want to write about? Is this something that I will have fun writing? Okay, so you want to do that. Is this something my peers could really relate to? I have fun writing it. My peers would probably enjoy reading it. Then I think you've kind of narrowed it down to maybe the top two. Decide what topic is the best one to create a story of. Who was there? What happened? Where? When? And why? When you go down to two, which one can you create a good story out of? So for example, if you can't make a story out of something that's just too simple, it's too narrow of a topic, you need to pick something else, which is why we brainstorm more than one topic. If it's too big, like a whole trip, okay, you need to focus that down to, one day of the trip. What was the best day of the trip or the best moment of the trip, the highlight? So for example, you can't write about the whole Disney World trip. What about, my favorite ride? So a personal narrative is a true story based on your life. It really happened to you. So you will write this from first person point of view. You need to pick a topic you feel comfortable writing about, maybe even enjoy writing about. And that happened pretty recently because it's going to be fresh in your mind. So you always map out the 5 W's. Who was there? What happened? Where, when, and why? And how do you think your attitude was changed because of the outcome? Use the basic outline provided to finalize your personal narrative stories, and remember to end with a lesson learned. Whenever you write a narrative, like, what lesson did I learn? For example, and this always goes in the conclusion, maybe I set my expectations too high, and maybe my expectations were unrealistic. Let's say you're going to write about trying out for the volleyball team and you've never played volleyball before. That's an unrealistic expectation. If you'd played club volleyball for 2 or 3 years and didn't make the A team, then we have a different conversation. Your expectations should have been high because you had, done the practice, done the work, and been participating in it. And then the lesson learned could be different. So the lesson learned, if you've never played before, is, I should have adjusted my expectations because obviously people had played before and I had no idea what I was doing. So there's no comparison. But the other one was, here's the reality. We may think we're the best. We may think we're the smartest, the most athletic, the best singer, the best dancer. We're not. There's always somebody that's going to be better than us. Always. So a first person narrative, use I, me, my, myself pronouns. Do not use you and your. Who are you talking to? There's no conversation. Avoid third person pronouns. We, my, our. Okay, if you're doing a lot too many we's, then you need to go back to me, my family, our. Make sure the lead and conclusion are in first person too. Okay, so here we have your outline. An idea when it comes to special events. Even if I plan out every detail ahead of time, it still may not go the way I think it will. So this is just a lead idea. For example, I practiced for basketball trials for months thinking I could make the A team. I was ready. I believed I impressed the coach with my accurate shots, ball handling, and passing. But when the results were announced, I learned I made the B team. At first, I was devastated, but that season, my teammates became my best friends. So now I'm glad it worked out the way it did. Okay, now that is not going to be the same story as in body 1 and body 2. So you really need to work from the middle first. Okay, looking back, I can recall moments where my expectations were met or other times when I was disappointed because nothing went as planned. Now you could say surpass my expectations if you want to do that. Your choice there. So body 1, one special memory I have of an event which surpassed my expectations was when you tell the story, right? This was one of those times when I appreciate what I thought would happen turned out even better. So there is a student example essay on the back of your outline. So this is written in first person. This is another student. So he actually wrote about, he won first place in his piano recital. And then he talks about his mom making him go to piano. His piano teacher had me play music I liked, music that was really popular, signed me up for this recital. I really didn't want to go, but I was like, fine, I'll go. So really an interesting story. Even said I played the song Believer by Imagine Dragons. So really great details. Again, you don't expect your first ever recital to win first place. So it made it a pretty good topic. Body 2. Unfortunately, I also remember a time when I believed all of my plans would go smoothly. However, I was extremely disappointed. And this is really interesting. He wrote about buying a product on Amazon. He had a hoverboard, and it was like this attachment that would go on his hoverboard and turn the hoverboard into a Segway. So he's like, so cool. If you don't know what a Segway is, it's like a basically, you're on a scooter, but it's like you're standing up riding it. And the police kind of do them. They do them. You can rent a Segway at like Disney World. Yeah. In Washington, D.C., but they're pretty cool. Anyway, so he orders this on Amazon, and it comes in the mail, and it's such a disappointment, not what he thought it would be. What I love about this topic is it's so relatable. I think we've all purchased something and been disappointed. It did not meet our expectations. So what a great relatable topic. This memory made me realize I just have to adjust my expectations, or send it back, right? Return it. Based on these two experiences, I now realize sometimes my expectations will be met, and other times, for whatever reason, it could turn out worse than I thought or better than I hope. So notice whatever you do in the lead, you'll connect in the conclusion. What happened with my basketball tryouts taught me an important lesson. Remember, the conclusion will always be a lesson. I can only control so much on my end. There will always be times when unforeseen circumstances change the outcome of what I expect will happen. When this happens, I need to be flexible and look at the big picture. I need to consider there's sometimes a reason my expectations will not be met, and I will grow from that. I also need to be grateful when all of my expectations are met or surpassed. And at this point, you could talk, had I not been put on that B team, I would have missed out on having great friendships. And the people on the A team were not so nice, and they kind of had a bad reputation. And that actually did happen. I got that idea from a student essay. Okay. So your job when you log off, brainstorm, and I would like at least 5-10 minutes. Once you brainstorm your list, narrow it down to 2 on each side. And then when you get to those 2, consider which one is going to allow me to write an elaborate story, which one am I going to have fun with, and which one will be relatable. And remember to stay in first person. All right, this concludes lesson 2 on expectations. Thank you for watching.